As I climbed out of the back of my car that was flipped on itself with the shattered windows, smoke billowing everywhere, I really had to question why I was in this situation. And that's the story of how I almost died for a girl. Now, to really understand the context of the situation, you kind of have to understand 18-year-old me. Now, on the whole, I'm not the smartest individual. Like, one time I thought it would be fun to jump off of my roof into a pile of snow, except the pile of snow had hardened overnight and, it hurt. But, point being, altogether, I'm just not the smartest individual. Now, when you add really attractive girls into the mix, it gets a little bit stupider. One time I thought it'd be a cool idea to dye my hair orange, and no woman liked it. Nope, it was quite embarrassing. In fact, I got teased right out of school. But that all being said, I still did have some close friends that were girls. And I consider myself a bit of a ladies' man if I do say so myself. I never wore like matching clothes or anything, but I definitely had something the ladies liked. Yeah. So it's senior year. I'm in grade 12 and I'm playing all the sports, so obviously I'm at least somewhat cool, but I didn't have a girlfriend. And if you know anything about grade 12, if you don't have a girlfriend, then it's perceived as cooler if you have a girlfriend. If you do, it's perfectly fine. I didn't, but I was looking for one. I was on a hunt. And that's when one of my friends invited me to play on a soccer team. Now, there's something you have to understand about soccer. It was one of the few things I was actually somewhat good at in life. The only problem with that is that nobody watches soccer, so you're never really able to get any girls through it. But that was all about to change. So one of my close friends invited me to come play on his small town soccer team. Yeah, I thought, oh, that's a great idea. That sounds like fun. I had no ambitions about chasing women. I was in grade 12. I was focusing on myself. What am I talking about? I was looking for anybody. But I really didn't expect this was going to lead to anything. I just thought it was going to be, some fun playing soccer. So we show up to practice for the first day, and so small town Canada and soccer, you can probably put the pieces together and realize that they weren't very good. But it was a great group of guys, but since they weren't very good, that meant that I automatically became pretty much the best player. And so we're doing passing drills, we're doing some stuff, and then I look over my shoulder to someone who's showing up late to practice, and oh my goodness, it was a female. What I didn't know at the time was that this was a co-ed team, meaning girls and guys could play on the same team. And when this absolute smoke show showed up, I started becoming the Messi of that practice. You couldn't get a crisper pass, even though when I would give it to somebody, it would just roll on past them because they didn't know how to stop the ball. But if they did know how to stop the ball, I would have been the Messi of that practice. Now, typical me being the ladies' man I am, I didn't talk to her once. She was very cute, though. Now, you might be expecting at this point that, next practice or next game, I went and I talked to her and we became best friends and we went out. Well, actually, no, that didn't happen whatsoever. I played on that soccer team for an entire year and I said like 20 words to her. I'm pretty sure my friend was actually more into her than I was, or at least he talked to her way more. Now, you might be wondering, what is all this? Where's the crashing and burning and almost dying? Well, we're getting there. Just hang on. So at this point, I went back to school heartbroken. The soccer season was over and we were triumphant. We had won. But it was small town co-ed soccer, so I don't even think they gave us a trophy. Oh, actually, no, we actually special ordered one. We engraved all of our names on it. But anyway, so I went back to school and I'm back on the prowl, But there's still nothing. And then graduation comes, I graduate. I didn't even bring a date. And at this point, I'm thinking my life is over. I'm never going to find a woman. But this is where my big brain play starts. I thought to myself, I really liked that girl that I played soccer with, but how would I talk to her? Like, what's an appropriate way to try and, reach back out? And at that time, Snapchat was where it was at. Like I'm not kidding you. You were cool if you used Snapchat. I know nowadays it's like, oh, he's a Snapchat, but it was a thing, okay? So amazingly overconfident and ready to go and bring a woman into my life, I sent her a Snapchat. And to my disbelief, she actually replied. We talked like this for a few months, just slowly working towards I'm asking her out, of course. And that's when I pulled the main move. I asked her to go out to Tim Hortons. It's like a coffee shop, and it's it was big for me at the time, okay? Now, at this point, I'm thinking, man, life's really looking up. I just graduated. I don't got to do school anymore. I'm going out with this girl soon. This is awesome. So we end up meeting. Now, she actually ends up bringing both of her friends with me. It's like a little fantasy come true. But anyway, we talked and we really got along together. However, there was a problem. Even if I wanted to date her at this point, she lived an hour away from me. The small town thing that I was talking about earlier, yeah, well, that means she lived a little distance away. But you can't stop love with distance. I would drive all the way to her town just to go on a walk with her. I was not a simp, okay? Simps didn't exist yet, all right? That term was coined like later in life, okay? But don't yell at me. I thought at the time it was pretty cute. You know, looking at the time we spent together, it was really nice. But we're not here for that sappy crap. We're here for the burning and the blowing up of things. So after some time of hanging out back and forth, I end up asking her out and we start dating. Everything's going great, you know? We get to see each other once or twice a week. Like, I know, it's crazy. Now, she's in grade 12 still, so that kind of limited her time and the schedule. We usually could only hang out at night, but it is still good. And at one point, she even let me kiss her. I know, don't be too blown away. You're gonna get this age restricted. But yeah, safe to say, I was pretty cool at this point. But this is where our story starts to take a turn. So she's still playing on this co-ed soccer team. It's summer again. I can't play because I'm too old, so I'm just sitting with her family watching on the sidelines. She's doing her thing. It was a good time. After the game, we had planned to go and see a movie. Her parents had okayed it, so it was all good. You know, we get to the movie theater, we get some popcorn, we get some drinks, you know, we have some cuddling. Again, I'm not a simp, okay? Simps were not a thing back then. Everything was going great. It was a good movie. It was Transformers. I think she fell asleep during it, but I loved it. Now, at this point, it's like 12 o'clock at night. I gotta drive her all the way back to her house, and then I gotta come back home. I know I'm pretty tired, but I'm used to this, as most of the time we're hanging out at night. Not for any of the funny stuff, don't you think that? Just because we had to hang out late because of her schedule. She worked and went to high school, so the only time she really had time was late at night. So I started driving her home, and this should have been my first warning. It kind of felt like my intuition at the time was saying, don't do it, Nathan, don't do it. While I'm driving her home, I noticed my car skid a bit. Now, at this point in life, I'm the proud owner of a silver Lexus IS 300. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's a pretty boss car. But one thing it's featured for is its rear-wheel drive, which makes it really fun for drifting. You can impress all the girls doing donuts, but that comes with a small caveat. You see, rear-wheel drive cars have no weight in the back, so even if it makes it easier for drifting, the problem is it makes it easier for drifting. So I'm taking her back to her old small town, and I'm using this off-road. It's not a main highway, it's not paved, it's just full of gravel. Now, the problem with gravel is if you're not watching yourself, it's pretty easy to slip in even in any kind of vehicle. While driving, we almost end up slipping off the road. She's pretty used to it, so she's not really, that rattled by it, but I'm like, oh, God, died there. This should have been the final warning that, made me do the smart decision. You see, on the way back home, you have two options. You can take the highway, which is a little bit longer, but it's paved, or you can take this off-grid road, which has all the gravel on it, but it's a bit quicker. You save about 20 minutes taking it, so I normally took it. After dropping her off, I head back home, and when I get to the point of taking the highway or the grid road, I take the grid road. And this is where the story takes a twist to a near-death experience. As I'm driving home, I go through an intersection. While I'm on that road, I get to the point where I slipped the first time. But I'm on the other side, so it's not really that much of an issue. I don't slip again at that point because, different sides of the road, there's different things going on. But because there's different things going on, there was something I hadn't planned for. On the opposite side of the road, there was a little bump. Now, at this point, I'm going like 80 kilometers an hour, okay? I'm awake, but I'm pretty tired. My reaction speed's, not the greatest. And that's when I hit the bump. Now, at this point, the rear part of my car begins to turn one way. Now, if I'm a good non-19-year-old driver at this point, I would know to countersteer very lightly to make sure I don't go into a spin. However, I was not a very good driver at this point, and I countersteered way too hard. You see, when your car's going to the right, when you're not wanting it to go to the right, you try and move your wheel to the left. Not too much, but enough to sort of try and straighten the car out, and then you can straighten your wheel back. Unfortunately, I cranked the thing. Now, this is the point where I start realizing, oh no. You see, cars are meant to go forward. And at this point, while I'm in the car, I am going sideways. You see, the front of my tires are supposed to be on the road going forward. Right now, they are facing the side of the road. Now, there is one other thing you're not supposed to do when you're in a situation like this. Do not touch the brakes. You see, by touching the brakes and slamming on the tires, you lock all your wheels. And at that point, whatever happens, and you're gonna fly into something. So I did the obvious, intelligent thing. I slammed on the brakes. And that's when I went from sideways to spinning around at 80 kilometers an hour. I remember this part very well. I look to the left, out my driver's side window, and I think to myself, that is a ditch. And then I think to myself, oh no, I'm about to go down there. And that is when the car begins to roll. It falls off the road, it rolls a few times, and stops. Now, you might be thinking, oh, well, the worst part's over. Wait. So I'm in the car at this point, upside down, seatbelted. No airbag went off, nothing. I'm thinking to myself, This car's about to blow up. Okay, I just came from Transformers. Mix that with the fact that, let's be honest, every movie you've ever watched, when a car does something, it blows up. You know, when it falls off of a little like ledge or whatever, it just always blows up. So I'm thinking, I'm gonna die in a fiery inferno. And then my mind goes to something even worse. Oh no, what if the car crushes itself? You see, it's upside down right now. So if it falls in on itself, it's just gonna fold me into a freaking pancake. So I'm like, okay, I need to get out of here quick. So I unseatbelt myself and I fall to the ceiling, which is now the floor. I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, how do I get out of this car? I notice that the back windshield is mostly smashed, so I get back there, I use my foot, and I smash away at what's left. I climb out the back, I crawl onto the road, I stand up, and I look down. I loved that car. And there was a moment when the lights and the radio turned off because the battery was dying. I'd called my parents at this point, and I was just watching my first ever car, my baby, dying in the ditch. I texted my girlfriend the next day that I'd almost died, and she was like, oh, well, that kind of sucks. Safe to say we didn't make it in the long run, but that is the story of how I almost died while seeing a girl.